dun, 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 dun. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Alien Earth. So excited. We're kind of old school this week, so no big animated intro for us. Except my camera's wandering around the field here, so we'll see how we can fix that. Luckily, I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself to help me along with all of this discussion. From Smirking Gun Reviews, it's Rob Stone.
Hey everybody! I got a that was almost a cool dissolve. Like I moved away from the camera and then it like faded back in. That was not intentional, but it's a kind of a cool. Hello everyone! Yes, we're back talking Alien Earth, the best show on TV right now, and episode 3, Metamorphosis. It's going to be a fun discussion.
Yeah, so of course, obviously, spoilers ahead. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Oh my God, I remember to do this at the beginning of the video. I usually don't remember till the end. Saying hi to Crom, of course, already joining us live in the discussion. So yeah, Metamorphosis this week. Kind of wrapping up our first couple episodes, moving into, I think, where we're going to be getting a lot of the meat of this storyline. So in some ways, to me, kind of a middling episode, because it just wraps things up and then starts to lay the groundwork for where we're going next. But also does have its bit of action, does have its bit of intrigue, and some great character stuff. So yeah, what did you think about this week's episode there, Rob? How did Metamorphosis hit you?
Yeah, I think you put it right. I mean, it wraps up what we were doing with a great action sequence, and then starts to, I think the real show kind of begins now. The first 2 episodes were like, these are our characters, this is the world, and this is what's important. They don't waste a lot of time getting certain things done. We get reunited with the brother right away.
Mm-hmm.
They're out and they have to scoop up these creatures fast because we've got 8 episodes this season, and they gave us a lot of hour-long episodes to do it, which is great. And now we have to start really paying off and showing where we're headed and how bad things are going to get here. And by looking at some of the episode synopses that are on Hulu,
Mm-hmm.
you can tell that like next week we're gonna, where we're gonna go, and then episode 5 does look like we're gonna probably have that flashback episode. It's the longest episode so far by about a minute from the first episode, so we're probably gonna see how everything went down on that ship.
Sure.
But I think starting next week, I think we're gonna get some really, really crazy stuff happening, and all that groundwork is laid right here, and I'm just excited to see where we're going. Even though you can, like we even talked about in the first episode or first video, you can kind of see where a lot of this is going. But again, it's the journey of how we're going to get there.
Sure. Yeah, and we've definitely got Marrow having some interesting bits. And yeah, I think I was expecting that flashback, especially in this one where he mentions that the ship was sabotaged. It's like, okay, so we're definitely going to have to learn a little bit more about what all happened on that, and I'm kind of excited in those ideas. But there's a lot of larger ideas I think that we're trying to jump onto on top of this too. And the one concern that I would have, if I would say that I do have a concern with the show outside of my camera constantly twisting around, sorry everybody, I don't know what's up with that. Is the ideas of maybe they're grabbing too much, if they're juggling too many things, because in a lot of ways the alien is almost just the secondary background story for what's going on. Yeah. I mean, it is with in many ways most horror films. It is the environment on which the character evolutions and the character actions all happen, evolve, develop, and so on. And if I would think of like kind of a synopsis of this show, I guess it would be something along the lines of if you're looking at the initial log line of on the eve of a new mega corporation revealing the next breakthrough in human evolution, a sabotaged deep space research ship crash lands on Earth and carrying dangerous alien species. That's really kind of the setup, because in many ways, the hybrids are the real key in this story. This is the story of the hybrids. I think the aliens are just, again, the background on which we're telling this story. And we get to deal with a lot of the big questions in that is, and that's one that Marrow presents to slightly in this, is when is a machine not a machine? And I think that's the more interesting story that Noah Hawley is playing with, using the aliens as the background motivator for the story to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm more than that's what I want, because I've already seen enough movies about just running from the alien.
Right.
I mean, it has to be in here. It's part of the whole, like the way that the corporations are viewing these creatures and what the possibilities are to use them for is like the more interesting thing to me than the creatures themselves, because we've already seen that. And that's why I'm comparing this to Andor, because I've already seen all these things that Star Wars gave me a million times, and Andor gives me something I haven't seen about areas that we've never explored. And so this is doing the alien version of that, of exploring the corporation mind, exploring the hybrids, exploring human potential, exploring our own aspects of humanity and immortality, what makes us people, what drives us, what motivates us, legacy, the things we do, like and if we, what, feeling obsolete. There's so many things going on here besides the alien, even though it's the alien. We do find out new things about the alien in this, and we get to see new things that we've never seen before about the alien, like, especially like them plucking that thing, the pure essence of what's inside the face hugger that makes the alien the alien.
Yes, the polywog.
Yeah. and more of like when it saw Marrow and walked away, talking about fear, the trap that it sets for Marcy, how it stares her down and then leaves because she's not afraid. The trap failed, and now, but he still wants to get at Joe.
Right.
And it's just like this, it's experiencing like, the alien is pure survival. It is just does what it does. It's attack, kill. It's wanting to protect the eggs. It's still doing, it's taking people, not necessarily killing them, setting up a trap. It fails. And then we get to see some interesting fight stuff that we've never seen before, like hooking it by the mouth.
Yeah.
And then how it will do anything to survive like a caged animal. It'll rip off its own second mouth.
Yeah, well, yeah, I want to jump in on that for a minute here. Also, just a comment with Crum mentioning that it is happy birthday to Dimebag Darrell, and of course H.P. Lovecraft, who definitely had his own little influence on the design through Geiger, I can't know how you pronounce his last name, through the art influence that Alien is all based off. So yeah, seems kind of appropriate birthday chatter for Mr. Lovecraft. But yeah, I also listened to the podcast afterwards to try and expand a few things, and that is one of the stuff when the guys behind it was talking about is the alien in a sense of pure survival. Because in initially watching the scene, I was kind of wondering what they were playing with, and the one thing I don't want to see is the alien be given a sympathetic motivation. Okay. The alien is a monster. It is a force of nature. Always has been. That to me, that is the great thing about the alien. And that was the one thing that was almost a little concerned on my first viewing when watching that scene with the trap is what's going on? Why doesn't he attack? Why does he come up around? He only really does attack after she stabs him through. So I'm like, are they trying to reflect back to this whole scorpion idea that it's not malicious. It's just an animal trying to survive. And that didn't really hit well with me. But between the podcast and what you're mentioning right here is the trap not failing, because this is a hunter that hunts on fear, and Marcy/Wendy is not afraid, both because they're a synthetic and just because of their type of personality. It makes it a much more kind of an interesting thing, because the one thing they did touch on is there's a little variance that we're going to have from established canon in this, and I'm not sure how much is going to become apparent on screen, but they did mention that one of Holly's motivators is seeing that this is an animal that has evolved over millions of years to survive. No matter what you throw at it, no matter what environment it's in, it can survive. And like you says, it will kill itself, it'll rip itself apart. You had the thing in Alien 4 where they tore apart the one alien in order to use the acid to get out, because that's the drive of this alien. It is an ultimate survival instinct, and I love that as being the underlying drive for this creature. It's not malicious so much as that it will ultimately survive on its own ends, and in that sense it's completely ruthless. But it also takes away any chance that you might be like, maybe it's trying to communicate. Maybe it just wants to be friend. Maybe it just wants to take its eggs and go home. Maybe that's all. No, it doesn't. It wants to take over your face and take over your damn planet, because that's how it survives.
Yeah. And Marcy is an unknown variable. It doesn't know what to do with it. So it leaves trying to figure out another way to do it. It really wants nothing to do with her. In fact, he probably sees it as a threat that it doesn't need to, like an animal out in nature where there'll be a standoff, and it's like you'll sometimes see an animal that you wouldn't expect to walk away from another animal. And sometimes it runs away from prey because the prey is too big, or, you know, like a Cape buffalo versus a lion at times. You know what I mean? Like it's still gonna go close by and try to think and go, okay, maybe I can get it this way, but it flips the thing. It's like shaking the place up, trying to separate her from his. Like, now that the trap fails, like, I still want to get at the thing I want.
Right, of course.
And so it tries that tactic, and it almost works again, you know, and then we see what happens, and I just love it. I love seeing somebody just being able to, like, stand their ground against one of these things. It's just, I loved it. And the way that they shoot it, where it's like less is still more. We don't need, if they show too much, it's going to give the game away.
Oh no, they have really done well. And even when you have the alien crawling up against Joe and such, they were only seeing like part of its side, and we're only catching part of its head over here. We're really not spending a lot of time on these full body shots or reveals, and I think that is definitely to the show's strength. You know, it keeps the monster a monster, and not a guy in a suit or some CGI thing or something like that, you know.
Poor Joe already getting stuck through the chest. Like, she's trying her best to save this guy that, you know, is just meat. You know, he's like, I'm a soldier. She's like, not really, not anymore. Like, right now you're just, you know, you're just what this thing wants.
Right.
And I like that we don't see her cut the thing's head off. I like that we just see the aftermath of her just kind of standing there shaking, and then down she goes. And we lose her for the majority of the rest of the episode, so that we can focus on what I think is the mistakes that are all about to be made.
For sure. Well, yeah, definitely want to get into that. And yeah, I agree with you. I'm glad that we didn't see the fight, because we got to save stuff for later. The one thing that I did kind of laugh about was the just mysterious injury that Wendy has. Wendy is damaged. And they never really say why, outside of just, is it head damage? Is it internal? Is it whatever? They don't really hit onto it. And I don't think it's something they need to at all. It keeps, you know, because again, that's not the story that's being told here. But yeah, it is one of those
Probably
places where
whacked her good on the back of the head or something. And
well, yeah, no, it definitely seems there's some head injury and how much with the internal processors and things. I mean, you can over elaborate, but the thing is that they know that that really isn't a concern the audience needs to have satisfied. Wendy is damaged, they fix Wendy, Wendy gets better. We don't really need that much more. And I think it's great to use that time on our other characters. Specifically, and I'm just going to say this straight out, Kirsh. Um, yeah, Oliphant can do no wrong in this show. He is great in every little moment. I love the bit with the kids when he's like, look with your eyes, like dealing with these children, to talking with a boss where he's like, can't do that. We're in a crash site and trying to save the world from an alien invasion. You know, there's such a practicality to him, but it's not like a cold practicality. It's weird. I mean, again, I wasn't trying to figure out what Kirsh was, and I guess he is a full synthetic because we automatically see that the creature reacts to our captain mostly when he is near it, but he doesn't react to Kirsh, and obviously not the hybrid. So I think he is a full synthetic. I wasn't sure going into that.
Well, when he faces Marrow, right, and he doesn't. He's not even like threatening the guy. You know.
Oh yeah, so calm.
Just comes in. I mean, Marrow's the threat. You know, and those kids, especially Smee and Slightly, are really showing like how they aren't prepared for any of this. They are truly just the product.
They are definitely the best kid duo. I mean, these are definitely the most children of the children in the show, by far. You know,
it just the way that they're allowed. You know, that they could probably, they would probably get killed by Marrow, but
oh yeah,
but mostly because they don't even understand themselves yet. They have strength, but his intimidation just, it's like an older person, someone that's commanding, not even telling them to respect them, but they have that like childlike, there's an adult in the room and we have to like listen to them, even though they could leave, they could run off, they could do whatever, but he's got full control of that situation and them. And Kirsh, until Kirsh gets there, and they immediately hide behind Daddy.
Yeah.
Like it's great. And the way Oliphant is playing all of this and having his own motivations hidden behind those eyes and the way he talks, especially in the scene where he tells, Boy Cavalier, who's about to, like he's watching Boy Cavalier over the egg and he's looking at him. He looks at the egg. He looks at him. He looks at the egg. And you're thinking, is he going to let him? He's thinking about letting him get taken right now.
Oh yeah.
And then he goes, "Oh no."
He's observing too. I think he's also, again, he's that cold confirming, like, okay, it did this before. It didn't do it with me. Is this real? It's like, to me, it's one of the pluses and minuses in that scene is I love how quick he is at surmising what this creature is, but it's almost too fast that it seems like, well, you just did the quick summary because the audience knows all this and you want to get past it. It kind of felt like too much of a blend of those two things to me, but I forgive it because, again, we already know there's no need to really move on, and they give enough little bits from him to make it seem like he just put this together.
And the manipulation that he gives when he pushes him out the door and then explains to him, this is a parasite. Mm-hmm. And it does all this and comes out. We saw what it did, and it clearly bursts out of people and people like you.
Yeah.
And as soon as he says that, he's like, okay, no one around this except Synths. And when he turns around and walks away, he has that smile like, now I'm really free to do what I want. I made him think that it was his decision to do this. And this was what I wanted in the first place. I let the boy genius think that he won the day. You know, showing again that just how Boy Cavalier maybe has smarts. He has plenty of smarts in some areas, but not enough to outsmart a synth that is really wanting to play with his new toys.
Yeah. Well,
and did you read the we purposely paused during the description of the creatures, and we read through all the thing, and the eye creature is basically got like near human intelligence. That it's what it does is it doesn't fully take over. It takes over the ocular area.
Sure.
And then tries to like manipulate everything else. And the plant one wasn't as interesting. It's pretty much a giant, you know, like poison ivy plant. Like it uses things to attract prey and all that. But the tentacle eye creature, the way that it was talked about in there was this thing, and it makes me wonder, does it already have some kind of control over her? He didn't take the ocular, but the touch, I'm wondering how much of the touch makes a connection with that person, because the rest of the episode, she's looking at herself, touches her eye. Now I know that some of this is like her on the table going from a dying body to this body. There's the conversation that she has about why Wendy this and everything. But part of me is wondering, because the scientist on the ship was also staring at this thing. And I'm wondering if that played a role in the whole thing that caused chaos on the ship in the first place. Is this thing, did that thing get in her head, and is this thing somehow in her head already?
Sure.
It may not have, it might not know how to see and process everything, and that she might not understand that it's in there either. There's like maybe this weird kind of almost empath kind of thing where it's somehow they're connected emotionally, and that maybe because of the process of her switching from body to synth body, that this thing is also experiencing like this new thing. I might be reaching.
Sure.
I might be reaching, but it does feel like there's something more than her just having some kind of weird dysmorphia about her situation.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, that would be kind of an interesting take on it, and I would be more curious because of her syntheticness, of if it was able to kind of bridge that gap effectively. But it does pay into what we're seeing with a lot of the kids, how they are all processing being in their body, these new bodies, differently. I mean, we have Smee and Slightly that are just, the slap happy kids that are basically don't have the maturity of their mind or their body to really do anything with it. And I think that's why Marrow is so easy to manipulate them, because you're right. They're just like the kids with the big adult that's telling them what to do, and they're supposed to listen. And they don't really understand that they can choose to not listen because they are in that position of who they are, but they're basically still kids in their head. Nibs definitely is going through something. I mean, through the whole episode, whether it's just the trauma of I might have been killed, but now I'm in a body that can't die. So am I real or am I not? Which I think does tap into the when is a machine not a machine idea. Is, in that sense, how much of their humanity has come over? Are they really just machines that have the memories of human beings, or has that ghost in the machine, that soul, that other thing that we believe is what our motivator, the observer in us will often say is the one that's seeing and thinking and compounding all of these thoughts and memories and processing? Is that something that gets translated over? And is Nibs going to go through some sort of dysmorphia breakdown? Because obviously this is all in her head, and it makes sense. She almost died, or she thinks she almost died. Would she have died? She doesn't know. And nobody really knows. And there isn't any counseling to deal with all of these because they're so interested on the new shiny toys that I think the care that the hybrids are supposed to be getting post mission isn't really happening.
Could it also be that this thing is used to connecting with organic material or in brains, like Bill's saying, rewriting the brain? What if what's going on is it doesn't understand that it's connected to hardware and not organic stuff?
Yeah.
Like, what if this thing is now tapped in and creating a new kind of thing? Because that's another part about this show, and especially this episode, is the possibilities of even more new versions, new hybrids, when these creatures touch them or are mixed with new things.
Sure.
Like, could there be some sort of new thing made out of this new rewriting of a hardware brain with an alien creature touching it?
Yeah. No, and I think that's the interesting thing, is because we've got now so many new concurrences coming in. Again, they said 5 species. We've only talked about a couple. We've got the blood guys, we got the plant guy, we got the eye guy, we got the alien guy, but that's only 4. Who's number 5? And
I think it's in that tank next to when Boy Cavalier's standing there talking about everybody's feisty today.
Yeah. So I'm curious. Now, also about the hybrids. I mean, we'll get a couple of things. Because one, we have who is it? Curly, who wants to, I guess, be the new Wendy. He wants to be the new favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the I don't know, arrogant one, feisty one, ambitious one. Maybe we'll just say ambitious one, that wants to prove that she is more than she was, and actually does give that kind of conversation to Boy Cavalier. I love that little bit where she's like, it's like, am I? I thought smart people didn't ask dumb questions. I do love they do take that moment where he's like, okay, you might be interesting. You might have more in you than I want. Now, the idea of giving her stuff to read and watch, and then maybe we'll play later, I don't know. With trillionaires, those things always make me uncomfortable. But I'm curious where he's going to go with that. I do think it's not that he's looking for a favorite, but he loves the competition. And I think he is easily distracted. And I think that's the problem that we have with bringing these aliens is he's still supposed to be unveiling these new hybrids, like in a couple of days, like we're on their final things, and he's immediately distracted with the new shiny stuff, which, I mean, I fear all of this obviously is going to go bad.
Well, I mean, it's like you get the new phone, right?
Uh-huh.
They roll out the new phone, but they're immediately rolling out the next phone. They immediately jump onto the next thing. It's always as soon as the new thing is barely out released, they've already moved on. It's just another product, and that's part of it. I mean, again, they talk about that on the podcast, where it's like he's not just trying to do, like interested in his own piqued curiosity. He's looking at his product. Is it working? And testing it. Like she's really trying to be alive in this new body and all the potential. And so she's, bringing up all these things with that kind of wide-eyed naivete that she doesn't realize she's talking to this guy who, to him, she's just a product. He's God. I created you.
See, to me, that's the other real interesting question that the show has not popped on, is definitely going to be a big one, is, are they themselves or are they product?
Yeah.
I mean, since like Kirsh obviously belongs to the company. Synthetic person, artificial person, if you want to think about Bishop in the future and his preferences. But this is obviously a machine owned by the company in order to do a task. Then you have someone like Marrow, who's a cyborg, human being, but modified by the company. So perhaps he has a contract, but that is the extent of his legal obligation to the company. He is still an independent person. The hybrids are something different, because it's not what was a cyborg is a machine modified human. This is a human modified machine. It's all code. It's all machine, but it thinks, and maybe it is human inside. But is that hybrid still just a product that's owned by Boy Cavalier and Prodigy Core,
Yeah.
just like synthetic, or does it have some level of agency? And I think that's the real big question of when is a machine not a machine?
Yeah.
That we're going to have to dive
They're not.
into.
They don't understand that they don't have a contract. They don't have rights.
Yeah.
They can be taken away and put on a shelf, and they don't understand it because they're kids.
That's right.
And they're just being used. And there's only so much that their mother and surrogate father, their Dame Essie and her husband Arthur can do. There's going to be a point, I think, in this show where that's all going to come to a head. And I was talking about this to Bill because, again, the Peter Pan references and that Boy Cavalier has purposely put into all this.
Right.
But also things that the show kind of like allows you to come to certain conclusions, at least I have, and comparisons anyway. And to me, Curly is a lot like Tinkerbell. The jealousy of Wendy, that Peter's connection to Wendy, Peter wanting to, Wendy's not, like he's the way that he talks to Curly about it is like playing with your toys.
Oh, totally.
So she doesn't know that he's messing with her, but her jealousy is very real. And that like not understanding, like, my dad would throw the first pancake away line. Like there's this kind of like, why her and not me? And that makes me think of Tinkerbell for some darn reason.
Oh, no. The minute you said that, no, I synced right in on it. I'm surprised they won't start calling her Tink at some point. Because you're right, that jealousy is exactly the same. We should have the connection, not them. I am more like you than she is. Why is she? Just
you
because
and me,
she's the first.
It's us. It could be us. Why do you want her? What's so special? She only cares about her brother. You and me, I'm the one thinking about world stuff like you. We both can change the world. I mean, I won't tell you my ideas.
Sure.
But it's like she really thinks that they're on the same page, just like Tink and Peter. Like it was us. In the story, it was always us. There was before. But this is a different kind of look at that, I think.
Right. Well, again, I think you can have that same motivation. You have that same drive in a different character here.
It's just so weird to be talking about an alien show and then bringing up Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. And it's just like, but it's there.
Hey, man, we're just reacted to the show. We didn't make it.
That is what is so great about when you're talking about this. It's kind of like when we talk about Severance and all the different ways you can connect certain things here and there. And it's like, oh my God, I love that they put things in here to connect to things that you Noah Hawley's a genius. It just comes down to that. Like all those ideas, man. That's why I love this show.
Yeah. No. I mean, again, I love all of the elements that he has, and I love what he's playing with. I am kind of hoping, I'm just like, I just hope that we stick the landing, that it all comes together the way that it's supposed to. I've got a lot of faith because I like everything that he's done before, which is when you really give it up to a creative or a filmmaker or any of that. But yeah, Marrow's kind of an interesting question that's posed right here because he's been gone for 65 years. He worked for the previous Yutani and is now having to deal with the granddaughter. We get that whole kind of passage of time. And while he, in his conversations with Smee and Slightly, does mention that he has a daughter, that he's a father, this is the way that he can connect, I don't really believe that. I mean, it may be true, it may not. I think that if he did or didn't, he would say that either way, because that is just the kind of drive that Marrow has, is to find a way to get in and to connect. But it's definitely very real that he knows nobody who's still alive anymore. And in the pod, they did bring up an interesting question, which I didn't think about at the time, but definitely appreciate. is the fact that, well, like you were talking about the iPhones there, that he's like an iPhone Model 1, and he just got back to Earth when iPhone Model 20 is out. That as a cyborg, he worked with previous synthetics that was what, Mr. Tang, who is barely functional and super creepy. And the first one that he runs into here is Kirsh, who is confident, smooth, capable, and definitely dangerous. And then he's meeting a hybrid, which is a brand new thing that wasn't even thought of when he existed. So it really adds some interesting layers to this character, who is not only a drive for Yutani and a I don't know, not necessarily antithesis, maybe contrathesis to the character, is a competitor within this, but maybe not the actual enemy within this. I mean, we all need friends, right? But the fact that how much is driving him, like, I don't belong in this world. I must find myself to be useful, because otherwise, again, what the hell is a flip phone doing in a world full of smartphones? You got to upgrade, or you got to prove your worth or something. And it gives a very interesting idea for someone who is like a base model to come back when like advanced models are running around. And wow, I have a knife hand and I've got some memory in my head. What does everything else have? What does a cyborg today look like compared to tomorrow?
Yeah. And I think that there's guilt there too, that he needs to make what he did on that ship make sense and have some sort of, like, not just make sense, but have a purpose.
Yeah.
Why did I let all those decent people die? If I'm here and you're just telling me to come in, which, let's face it, if he went in, he probably is never getting out.
Mm-hmm.
The debrief would probably be the end of him.
Yeah, because what's his use?
So he's smart enough to know that, but at the same time, like when he's downloading all that stuff into his brain and he's talking about, the hypothetical to these two kids of, like, what would you do? Would you have, like, listened to Mother that says that these people don't matter, only the product, and all this, and realizing he's on borrowed time. This was his life's work, and for what? I'm already, like, I've lost it here to this other company. I can't let what I let happen to those people not mean something. And so for my purpose to be fulfilled, I've got to get those creatures back. And I think he also makes himself a liability to Yutani now because of it, in a way. Like, yes, maybe it works out, right? She could think that maybe he will bring it back to me. But I think it also just brings more heat to her if it fails. And I don't know if we've seen the last card that she's going to play.
Oh, I don't
feel like
so.
There's no way. I think that him, like, just because it's silence on her end doesn't mean that there's not going to be a response. I mean, I don't know. And just Babu Sisay's performance is so interesting and layered. And I can't wait to see how, in that flashback episode, how that, how we think of him moving forward. Because you're right. Like, he is like, we haven't seen any other cyborgs in this world. We're impressed by seeing the metal arm come out like some mutant in X-Men or something. But what are the possibilities? What happens when he runs into another one from now, that could turn its whole body into metal or something, like it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Captain Hook Marrow is Captain Hook. That's a really good, I was trying to figure out who Captain Hook was in this show, by the way. And, you're right. Cause he was the captain, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, he was the security officer. Yeah. But no, Stegosaurus. Yeah. You hit it before I was able to is I think you're right on the money. And it's interesting because I'm like, oh, so what's the ticking clock? Oh, it's the chittering that Wendy is constantly hearing, which is, of course, coming from the aliens.
The
Who was the
crocodile,
who was the crocodile in this?
Yeah,
Yeah. So we've got all of our out there. We're done, folks. 40 minutes in. You have a good night now.
He even has the missing hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
It's his hook. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Sting.
I know.
Man.
I just love it.
Bravo for bringing it all the way around.
Yeah.
Because that does kind of complete all of our imagery and all of our placement, and in fact, really effectively puts everyone in their position. Except that I'm pretty sure that Peter Pan's gonna die.
Oh yeah, Pan's not growing up any further.
Yeah, no, it's they say, oh, we're bringing it back to our safe lab. Okay, look, if we haven't learned anything in these alien movies, it's that your safe, secure lab is not, and that's where all the bad things are gonna happen. Bill Casey also mentions that episode 6 is called The Fly, and there was a giant flying insect that was seen only momentarily. All right, well, that would explain our last one in. The hallway smoking man, or the hallway cleaning guy who we get a shot of and is smoking a cigarette. I don't know about you. First thing I thought was James Hong in Blade Runner, who makes the eyes.
You know, I didn't say this last week because I was just like, what? I didn't really thought about it, but I didn't know that Blade Runner and Alien were in the same universe. I know it's something I should have known.
It's one of those. I don't know how official it actually is, but I do remember there was a long talk because, of course, they're both Ridley Scott, and they both have, your white-blooded synthetics and things like that.
But yeah, it made more sense now. I was just like, oh yeah, in the past, in this universe's past, they had the life expectancy, like 5 years or whatever it was, and all these things leading up, the first versions of these things, and some of them went crazy, and how that these different companies improved on them as they went along. It was like, oh my god, I don't know why I never put that together in my head, man.
Yeah, and I think even though I believe in Aliens, when they're talking about Ash with Burke and Bishop talking about Ash, that he was an older model, and I think he said a Cyberdyne Model A or Series A. So of course you know that's James Cameron just dropping Cyberdyne in with that system. But no, as far as I know, throughout any canon, there is no connection to the Terminator universe. Also, that is not a previous version of Earth. Maybe it's an alternate reality of, but no, that's just a fun little drop, I think, for Cameron fans.
Yeah.
But I'm going through all my notes. I want to see if we hit all of the things we talked about. Yeah, Wendy talking with Boy Cavalier and that fun little.
Well, okay, okay. So we also have the new possibility of a new kind of hybrid too, with the xenotransplantation. Okay,
right.
They take out Joe's lung.
Oh, I'm so fucked up.
Right, and they put it in the tank, and Joe's in, still laying there. They put the thing inside, and it goes inside his lung. Now, what does it become when it goes in his lung? Are they literally going to just wait for it to burst out, or is this going to be something that's now inside a part of Joe that makes him more than a human and also part alien?
See, I wasn't even going there with that thought. I mean, I thought it was kind of fucked up that they took his lung, but as I thought about the implantation, I was like, well, we always say that it puts it in its stomach, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe this is part of the lore that they're tweaking and adjusting in this. It makes a lot more sense to be in a lung where it can constantly get oxygen and connection. I mean, there is a logic to that being an implantation. It also goes down the throat. Now, maybe, again, it just burrows into a little thing and it's just whatever feed is. So, I mean, I'm guessing that they're just using this as a way to watch the growth inside of an organ and, if you give it oxygen and blood and thing, is it going to grow up? Maybe it's the perfect medium. I never thought of them implanting it back into Joe. I also don't know if they regrew another lung for him, or they're just like, sorry, Joe, you got punctured. Which, I mean, he was throwing up blood and such, which usually is a sign of a lung punctured through that alien tail jab that he got. So
the lung is out and he's stabilized, so maybe they won't put it in him, but that was the first thing that because everything is just the next level. Then what's the next level that they can keep going on? And maybe they won't do it, but again, I just love that they put those ideas out there for us to consider at least.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, again, they're experimenting, so where is this all going to go wrong? Are they growing an actual alien? Is this the type of thing? Because I mean, to me, that's one of the great survival bits of the alien creature that they don't touch on a whole lot, and I'm wondering if they will here, is that's part of its adaptive technique, is it finds whatever dominant species are on whatever planet it's on, and by implanting there, it kind of creates a hybrid form of itself and the creature it finds. The classic is with a human and is a humanoid-looking alien. But in Alien 3, we saw the dog, which was more of a dog-alien hybrid as opposed to a human-alien hybrid. So I'm wondering if they're going to play with some of those ideas, like, oh, depending on the genetic tissue that we implanted in, it will absorb the characteristics of, this type of thing. Because then you could see, like, okay, so you're going to make an alien eye creature, then we're all fucked.
Right. So there's just so many possibilities. Yeah, like what if they don't put it back in? What does it become sitting inside a lung?
Right.
Like what does it look? What does that last stage of its growth look like then? The potential is limitless. I swear, this thing reminds all these things remind me of the symbiotes. I think that's probably where Todd McFarlane first thought of characters like Venom and stuff, was these movies, and the potential of like anytime it gets onto something, it can take on its form or something like it, or a hyper realized version of that. And that's what we're seeing here. And the potential is limitless to whatever species, however many species we can think of.
Oh yeah, no, and I think that is again the fun part where they could go, and obviously that is something that this lab would probably play with because it wants to make the new shiny, and that's always where stuff is going to go horribly, horribly wrong. Yeah. I don't want to leave tonight without talking about Wendy and the chittering.
Yeah.
Because we've seen this from the beginning. It obviously came to a big head tonight, where we can pretty much say that Wendy is hearing whatever higher level communication is going on, with the alien creature, with the xenomorph species, and that they seem to be able to communicate with each other in their various forms, whether it's the face hugger, whether it's the polywog inside the base creature that ends up being the actual alien, whether it's an armored adult alien, or whether it's an egg, because each of these seem to give out sounds of distress or location or activity, because Wendy's picking up all of them. And that would really explain a lot of the behavior of the alien, is if it is in constant communication on some level with all of its brethren. It is, I wouldn't call it a hive mind, but definitely one that can give some level of basic communication.
Yeah, when they talked about when she was doing the hearing test, and they just in passing, while other things are going on, they're like, she's hearing on like some other level right now,
Yeah,
like,
far beyond the height of normal of any creature hearing or normal hearing. Yeah, that was those nice little background throwaway lines that end up being very important. Which is, I think, something that Holly does very well, is integrates information that seems background, but is more important, but is not unnecessary in any way.
Yeah. So what does that all mean, and how long is she going to be out now? Like, because yeah, whatever it is, it overloaded her again.
Right.
Well, not again, but like.
Well, when we got to the, but it was when we got to the purest form of the alien, which is the implanted thing, which effectively is what the face hugger, we're going to say, implants inside you. What is whatever maybe within the egg that it puts inside of you, is that's the purest form of the alien, because everything else is a mutation for the environment that it's in. And maybe that's why that was the sharpest, fierce, or it was just a screaming baby. And, you know, the screaming baby is always the one that cuts through the noise more than anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's, I don't know, I think kind of a lot. Well, let me ask just one thing maybe before we go on. A little, we'll play with our little speculation bot, which we always have so much fun here. What do you think is ultimately going to be the big story of this show? What do you think is where do you think they're going with all of this? Is there an idea you think that they want to present, or maybe just like, do the hybrids never become a thing after this? Do you think that this all falls apart, or is this I don't know. I'm just curious if you have an idea of where you think they're going with this show.
Well, I mean,
they've got a lot of ideas.
When Boy Cavalier dies,
yes,
does that mean Prodigy goes with him? Right? It makes sense that Prodigy goes with him. So, like, what happens to the synths then? Where do they go? Will there be any left? Was this just this great experiment that failed, and how many will be left over? And but also, this is about, again, they say it right at the beginning, about this is a race towards immortality, and about keeping our humanity, like how much of your humanity stays the longer that we try to stay alive longer using these kind of methods, and what are we willing to sacrifice for that? And the way that, and again, so much about, people being products. They say earlier, if all we could be creating is a bunch of consumers that live forever.
Yeah.
Always feeding the beast, always there to just, but what's the point of living? But that's the thing, is they don't care about that, just as long as there's always somebody to buy your shit. They need us to keep going. In fact, they're kind of like, it's like like corporations are like parasites that we're attached to.
Very true.
And as long as we keep feeding them, not with our bodily, our actual organic material, how long, the longer you stay subscribed or whatever to whoever or whatnot, like, it's, I mean, my brain is kind of reaching that point where I don't know where else to go with it.
Sure.
But
sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, the parasitic, like, we have actual parasites in this, and corporations are like parasites themselves. So where does it end?
Yeah, I think in a way we may end up being to a place where you're right. Boy Cavalier dies, Prodigy ends, and whoever's surviving Lost Boys disappear out into the world, because I don't think they'll ever be proclaimed as this new product, and who's going to be alive to follow up and make any new ones, and in which case I think they'll ultimately just be dealing with that idea as what makes you human. I think will ultimately be the deciding point on this, is whether it's, a synthetic or a cyborg or a hybrid or even a regular human being. What is that thing that makes you a human? Because we'll always see the humans that are the most inhuman, like what we touched on here with Bill here, which species is worth. Well, it's Burke, because obviously the aliens aren't trying to screw over each other for a percentage.
Yep.
is that really a human, even though they're in a human body, or is that more of a monster type kind of thing? So to me, that's, I think, where they'll ultimately be playing with. Deborah, to answer your questions, let's see. One, is Alien Earth because is Alien Earth alien because of its POV of the alien or the cyborg? Or is Alien Earth going to become like the aliens world? I think it's just the alien on Earth, like Crocodile Dundee in America. It's the alien on
Is
Earth.
Earth going to become like the aliens world? I don't think so on this show. I think they're teasing the potential for a takeover. I'd say though the more interesting thing is our Earth going to look like this Earth someday? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Will Predator show up? Not in this show, but but I'm sure that we're going to end up seeing a Predator show. I mean, it's just about how do you do it, and Noah Hawley's proving he can do this. So who's to say we can't have a Predator show? I want an alien movie marathon. Hey,
yeah. Now
make that happen.
I do think that the show will end with obviously all the aliens being killed, whatever destruction happens, and everything being lost, and Yutani giving a note saying, all right, well, that distant moon, Marrow picked it up. Do we have any ships in the area that can just swing by and pick it up? Oh, there's an ore hauler that's 6 months out. I think what they'll do is they'll throw out some connection for alien at the end, and that's why the Nostromo ended up being rerouted to pick up the SOS. That's my only kind of like greater world thing that I think that seems like too easy to not drop. And if they don't, I'll respect them more for it.
Will this also be one season and done, or are we going to get like a second season? I don't see this being a really long running show, but I wouldn't, if there's more to say, I would love to see them. However they do 8 episodes, wherever it ends, I don't
know what plans they have, because you're right. Yeah. They could do something really interesting, or they could take the characters and move them a couple years later to post.
This could just be step 1,
Nostromo, and they're out going for somewhere else. Or, I mean, they have the potential to lay a lot of groundwork for stuff that they could do. It
could be kind of like Fargo, where we'd get new casts. Maybe 1 or 2 show up here and there, or are part of it, or in the yada yada yada.
Oh yeah, like Alien Sunside on a distant planet where they find this thing, or Alien. Oh no, you're right. Oh, that would be freaking brilliant. That would be a brilliant direction to go in, is making an anthology series, or an anthology of series.
Yeah, that take place in the same like new kind of story they want to tell.
Yeah. No, because I would trust them with playing with the lore, even if they change things to do stuff in a more interesting direction. Because, I've said it before, I don't like the alien being made by David and that type of thing. I've always found the alien much more interesting to be an actual alien creature found on a distant moon that, evolved to survive the most incredible series of circumstances a multi-planetary parasitic creature could do. To me, that's much more interesting than, oh, I made it in a lab. But that's me. All right. Well, final thoughts and anything else you want to tell these guys about what you're doing there, Rob?
Just can't wait to see where it's going. I'm chomping at the bit. I'm excited that I'm watching a show that I want to watch. I watch more than once.
Yes.
I'm watching it for myself. I'm watching it I sit at work on my break watching it the next day, and then I come home and I watch it again and I take notes. So it's just like I didn't even do that with Severance.
Yeah, no, it definitely is worth, and I think that it does improve on its rewatches, because I think you catch more and can put more together, because it is very dense. And again, like she's listening to a tone that's far above any human hearing now, and she can hear it in the background, becomes a very central point for the show. So there's nothing really wasted in this.
Yeah. the only other thing is we're still just playing games on the channel mostly. Not even mostly. We're playing games right now on the channel, doing our Vox Machina campaign, playing Astrobot, playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, playing Star Wars Outlaws.
Saw that you just started Outlaws. Yeah, so you can jump in early on that gameplay, guys.
Yeah, and I'm interested in that. As much as some people don't like it, I like that there's like interesting ways to go. There's choices in there to cross, double cross, triple cross, side with these people and this happens, betray these people and this happens. I think it's a lot of fun so far.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, jump over, check out the gameplay. Otherwise, come back here next Wednesday night. We'll be talking next episode of Alien Earth. I give big thanks to Crumb joining us in the chat, as well as Bill Casey, Devra, and Stegosaurus with that awesome drop there on Captain Hook. Thanks, man. Otherwise, we will see y'all next week. So long, take care, and as always, watch out for those Nazis.